Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ad Age Remotely. I'm Janine Poggi, Assistant Managing Editor here at Ad Age. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, I'm joined live by Leanne Fremar, Chief Brand Officer at JPMorgan Chase. The iconic financial institution is currently looking at how it connects with consumers in the marketplace as it becomes increasingly cluttered with digital banking startups, and how consumers are adopting new banking habits in the pandemic. Leanne is joining me today to discuss how the company is navigating these trends. Hey, Leanne.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. 16 months in here, and I see that you are also in your home base.
Yes.
How is the pandemic work remotely been treating you?
Well, it's been good. Gone in phases. I think at first we all had a very hard time getting used to it. Then we all had a pretty good time getting used to it, and now we're headed back to the office. So we are definitely moving into a new phase, which is a little nerve-wracking, but also really exciting. I think that it's been a long time since I've been able to be in the same place as my team or my friends, or being able to do things, talks like this in person, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And at the same time, consumers are starting to move into a new phase, and we'll talk about that and how JP Morgan is responding to that. But before we get started, for those of you watching at home, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them on our social channels. We'll try to get to them during this conversation. And please like, share, and repost this if you like what you're seeing here, and show us a little bit of love. So first, let's start off about your role. You're the Chief Brand Officer. How has the role of a brand officer evolved over the past 16 months?
I guess in ways that none of us really could have imagined. And I think that as a chief brand officer, you're often tasked with helping the organization and the brand to sort of chart a course. And I don't think any of us really could have predicted what the last 16 months would have looked like. And so, the internal joke becomes a little bit of, chief Swiss Army knife, or chief, whatever is important that day, which is to say that myself and my team, have to be over prepared to jump into any circumstance and to help our customers and help the organization navigate what's going on in real time.
So, of course, I'm sure a big part of that was navigating the pandemic and the consumer marketing strategy, as we went from the various phases of lockdown to reopening and into the next phase. What is the next phase of this? How has JP Morgan pivoted, and what are you looking to next?
I think that customers are starting to show a lot of healthy signs of excitement around the pandemic moving into this next phase. And as a result, we are seeing a lot of enthusiasm in the data. And, when we look back 16 months ago, we were obviously seeing trends in places like travel and in dining that were were challenges. Small businesses were facing challenges, and everyday consumers were facing challenges. And I believe what we're seeing today is a renewed optimism. People are excited about the progress that the U.S. has made in trying to get back to pre-pandemic levels in terms of dining and travel and being able to interact with their friends and family. And we are very fortunate in the United States to be in this position, as we see there are countries around the world who are still very much in the middle of this crisis.
What does this mean then for how you're thinking about connecting with consumers?
I mean, we have been embracing connecting with consumers in an omni-channel way for many, many years. And I think that we've had a very sound strategy, and leadership has provided an incredible roadmap for thinking about how to reach consumers where they are, when they want to reach us, and on their terms. And so that omni-channel strategy has really helped us in this time, which is to say that customers can interact with us and meet with us the way they are used to in a branch, in their neighborhood, in their local community. But our digital products and services have made incredible strides during this time, and our roadmap has been accelerated, and we are seeing absolutely incredible products and services come to market for consumers that are digitally enabled in a way that really gives the customers an incredible amount of choice in how they want to do business with us today.
Anything that has been, launched recently or that's coming up that speaks to, travel maybe opening up a bit, dining, all of the areas that a year ago obviously wasn't something that you would be leaning into?
Yeah, I think that we are seeing that, and we are starting to think about what that will look like as we get to the end of 2021, and obviously, move into what will most likely be another phase at the beginning of 2022. And with that, we've started to, get back to making creative and storytelling and brand storytelling that really talks about the incredible benefits of our products and services and how they will continue to help customers make the most of what's theirs. And so I do think there will be a different tone in the marketing that you're seeing moving forward. Like I said, we're seeing a lot of optimism in the data around our consumers, and we are excited to be able to reflect that back cautiously, but optimistically as we start to move into storytelling around the next phase for customers.
So a more uplifting tone, more, excited tone, I would say, right?
Yeah, and I think, when you look back, and as marketers will look back at this time and realize that, what used to maybe take, years in terms of the roadmap of brands has been really condensed down into kind of like a 16-month marketing period of entering the crisis and really starting to think about how to help customers and our employees through things like the initial shelters in place and lockdowns. Of course, moving through phases like this past summer and the murder of George Floyd, and having to respond personally and as organizations to the racial disparities that were really laid bare in that period. And then, of course, moving into this new phase where we are seeing vaccinations and again, consumer optimism start to trend upward, and starting to anticipate what that will bring. And so it's been many phases actually in a very compressed period of time.
That it certainly has. And one of the things that I'm looking at and thinking about is especially the appeal and how you're appealing to younger consumers who are increasingly turning to a lot of these digital startups for their banking needs. We saw a bunch of them emerging during the pandemic. So how are you looking to sort of break through the clutter in that avenue?
Well, this is exciting, and we've had our eye on Gen Z for a while, and we're excited about the products and services that are geared specifically to them. We launched Chase First Banking last fall. It's our first product that is really there as a financial health product to help kids and their parents learn great money habits from the outset. And we have an incredible, app-based product to help parents and children navigate that learning. And so we've been really excited about that for some time. But what we've also seen is that younger customers are really flocking towards digital banking features. Sending money to friends is easy today, and it's really easy with things like Zelle, which are enabled on our Chase mobile app. Fast emerging trends like splitting up payments on purchases has really never been easier, and it's never been easier with products like Chase My Plan, which is also enabled by the Chase mobile app. And then, of course, utilities like understanding your credit score and how to monitor that. And that has been a Chase product that is free with Chase Credit Journey. And then, of course, we're seeing a lot of online trading happening today. And again, Chase and JPMorgan are there with unlimited commission-free trades when using the Chase mobile app for investing. And we're creating an incredible amount of value for young customers. And in that push-pull relationship, young customers are demanding that from us. And so I think, as a result, they're making us better and we're making better products for them. And it's a really exciting time to be working on that.
What channels are you utilizing to surface some of these features? What sort of marketing tools and different media are you looking to help connect with consumers to talk about things like Zelle and other things?
Well, we have a great sort of cross-platform strategy. I would say that Chase is unique in the sense that we have an incredible owned assets. That goes from our branches to our ATMs, our sports and entertainment properties, our digital out-of-home investments, and then of course our highly trafficked mobile app, our highly trafficked web interface, as well as our email channels. So we're starting from a very, very powerful position. But of course, we are also working the paid media channels and really thinking about appropriate messaging for consumers in those channels across social, across broadcast, and across digital display.
Any types of media right now that are really exciting you or just you're leaning more heavily into?
I think it's about mix. And I will say that, all media right now is interesting. And I think that, we're seeing, interesting things happening in broadcast. We're seeing interesting things happening with addressable and CTV. We're obviously seeing, incredible energy in some of these emerging spaces like the podcasting space, and streaming platforms, as well as the social platforms that we've been working for some time, and then some new platforms that we've been experimenting with, like TikTok and Show Me Your Walk last summer.
Are you looking to play in like different spaces, like a Clubhouse, for example, or there's these audio feed, you mentioned podcasts, like the live audio. Are there avenues like that you guys are kind of playing with or experimenting with?
Yes, we are, and Kristen Lemka and just did a really interesting event on Clubhouse just a few weeks ago. And, I think that is what makes JPMC just such an incredible place is, we have, a lot of senior leaders who are invested in and excited about disruption and pushing the envelope and reaching customers and meeting them where they are. And that is a really exciting thing about who we are as a brand, is our interest in our ability to innovate.
I'm here with Leanne Fremar, Chief Brand Officer at JPMorgan Chase. Thank you to those who are watching at home. We have Diallo, Michael, Rajanish, Akib, Rohit, Tanya, and Martha. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as a reminder, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them on our social channels. We'll try to answer them here. So, Leanne, as consumers adopt new banking habits amid the pandemic, what is the role of the physical branches right now?
I mean, branches play a critical role, and they play a critical role for our consumers who like to visit branches. We've got 4,600 branches around the country, and we are growing. We will be the only bank in the lower 48 states with physical presence, as we push through the back half of this year. We do see that people love to go into a branch for certain things, and that branch is really an extension of people's communities. And so we continue to invest in our branch strategy as one of the ways that customers can interact with us, but growing, at a faster clip, and something that consumers, of all ages and demographics are excited about is our mobile app and our digital products and services that are available to them there.
What are you finding just from like consumer insights is the reasons for consumers to visit a branch versus, banking digitally? Is it a demographic thing or is it a different use case?
It's a little bit of both. I will say that, people love the personal relationship. And that's something that I think in the last 16 to 18 months, we maybe took for granted, which was the ability to walk into a branch and have somebody know you and recognize you and really be, in lockstep with you on some of the major decisions that you might be making. You might be sending a child to college. You might be thinking about refinancing your home. You might be thinking about a new car, and having that personal connection is something that we never underestimate. But people love the flexibility, the convenience, the security, and the features, the deep features and insights that come with the Chase mobile app. And so we're seeing, people engage there on things that they might not necessarily engage on in a branch, to be able to really mine those incredible personal insights with products that we have, like Snapshot, on the Chase mobile app. And so, it is really about that multi-pronged approach, and everything has relevance and importance in the mind of, a certain consumer.
We've seen an incredible surge in interest around cryptocurrency. I'm just wondering, what that means for consumers, how you're speaking to consumers, knowing that they're thinking about this, and even if it's just, all interest right now and not a lot of usage, what that means just from a consumer perspective.
Well, I won't talk about crypto, sort of specifically. And I believe that, many leaders on our team have started to talk about that, and starting to form opinions on it. But what I will say from the perspective of, the products and services that we offer today and are working on, consumers are interested in financial services and financial products like never before. And they've become obviously accessible and democratized, but they've also become sort of culturally relevant and almost cool, which is, an exciting time to be in this industry and to be thinking about how to frame up those products and services as compelling, but also as something that really does serve a fundamental purpose for the consumer, which is helping them to build really strong and lasting financial habits that can help them on their journey at whatever stage in life, but especially as we sort of start to appeal to younger audiences. And so it does create, a little bit more cultural currency, pardon the pun, but it's actually a fun time. And I would say it's a little bit of a renaissance from that perspective. And it's fun to be a part of it and exciting.
So switching gears, you mentioned this early on in the conversation about how JPMorgan, responded amid the death of George Floyd. And I'm curious, what that looked like and sort of how you're elongating that and what the messaging is now in terms of bringing and uplifting marginalized groups in branding and consumer marketing.
Yeah, I mean, diversity and inclusion is really on the forefront of many executives and many people today. And I think that it is absolutely the right push, and it's absolutely critical that we get this right, and push towards a better and more equitable future for all communities. A strong economy that works for everyone is good for everyone. It's good for customers and communities that have been underserved. It's good for small businesses, and it's good for our business. And so we are heavily invested in making sure that we do our part to drive, equity and diversity and inclusion where we can. I think as it relates to marketing, we spend a ton of time looking at insights and keeping our finger on the pulse of trends and cultural moments and social issues that require a review of, past playbooks and how we would do something, and, in-flight campaigns, and if they're relevant or, will be relevant by the time they hit the market, and really then studying our audiences and what they're doing and what their movements are to make sure that we are really in lockstep with them and reflecting their values. And that happens from a sort of a data and analytics side, but it also happens from an execution side, which is to say that making sure that we have diverse teams internally, that we are bringing fresh perspectives as a team, but then also demanding that from our agencies, from our subcontractors, and from the people that we work with, who represent our brand creatively is critical. We've harnessed some incredible talent in this last year, even under the constraints that we had, sort of creating content in COVID, to work with some amazing directors like Child or Calmatic. We've harnessed, some of the power of our relationships. People like Kevin Hart have been an incredible creative force for us as a collaborator. And we're launching, a project with him called Heart of It All that really is like a fun and lighthearted and sort of relevant way to talk about, great financial habits and understanding what true financial health is. And then, we're leaning on really incredible partners like Spring Hill Company, who are helping us think about how to create content that addresses some of the thornier issues of, understanding financial health at a younger age, or understanding, wealth creation for some of these communities that, have been underserved, but also underrepresented in the conversation. And we're working with an amazing initiative that I really love, which is Double the Line, to ensure that we're creating not just equity in front of the camera, but equity behind it, as we think about the teams of people that we bring on set to create these experiences, and these marketing assets. And so you've got to look top to bottom and macro to micro, and our work is never done in this area, and it's a pleasure to keep moving it forward.
We actually have a question from Erin on LinkedIn. How is JPMorgan planning to address and support the more than 2.5 million women who have been forced out of the workforce, either programmatically, through grants, or as a campaign?
It's a great question. We have an incredible internal organization run by a woman named Sam Saperstein, and Women on the Move. They have been looking to address this issue head on, with our own internal workforce, as well as thinking about the pipeline of talent and what kinds of things we can do to support women in the workplace and working moms in the workplace who, many groups have been hit hard in the pandemic in different ways, but working mothers have had it really, really tough in terms of trying to balance, the pressures of work and working, quite a lot during these times, and also managing kids at home, homeschool, and not having, the access to, grandparents, aunts, uncles, families, extended families and communities. And so it has really been a challenge, and we recognize it, and are working hard to put programs in place to help women, get back to finding, work-life balance is I think elusive.
A dream.
But trying to find ways to work with people, as individuals, to help figure it out is something that we are spearheading.
For you, what has it been like being a female leader in what historically has been a male-dominated industry?
I have to say I feel very lucky. I happen to work at an organization where the female leadership is extraordinary, maybe the best I've ever seen in my career. And as I look across industries, it is really admirable and important. I look at female leaders like Marianne Lake, like T. Duckett, who has just gone on to be a CEO, Kristen Lemka, Lori Beer in technology, Allison Beer on customer experience and mobile, and many more. Jen Roberts, who's just recently named CEO of the Consumer Bank and has led our Chase for Business platform through the pandemic, which was a challenging time for our small business partners as well. And so, I feel very lucky to be at an organization that champions women, that celebrates women, that promotes women, and that allows people like myself as a leader to have access to those kinds of leaders, to have that mentorship. And it is absolutely and 100% my responsibility and the responsibility of my team and my peers to ensure that a new generation of women can step up in the organization and lead, and to ensure that group of women are more diverse, and bring different experiences to the company and to the table, and just create a bigger table. Yeah. And that's something that I've been invested in my entire career, and I feel really privileged to be at a company that is aligns to that.
We have a question from Austin on LinkedIn. How are financial institutions addressing the financial literacy gaps in our communities? You mentioned a little bit about that before. Maybe you can elaborate.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of really interesting programs. One is our community branches that are being rolled out now with a little bit more pace behind them, but in places like Harlem, Chicago, and other communities around the country that have been historically underserved. We are boots on the ground in those communities and really putting incredible, not just products, but services and tools and education modules in place so that we can make financial education available to everybody. And that is something that the data shows us, which is that we need to make sure that we are making the information and the fundamentals available to everyone, as not an only step, but as an important step.
Great. Well, Leanne, thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure. It's great to see you. I hope I get to see you in person, sometime very soon.
That would be great. Thank you. And thank you, of course, to our Ad Age crew, Alfred Mascaroni, Anna Sakula, Max Sternlicht, and Elise Liffring, and Arabella Breck for making this live stream happen. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.